Hey, what's up? What's up? Hey, what's up? You want to hear a story that ends worse than you can imagine? I'll tell you when I get back.
At my best, at Scott Carabula, I was done with this fight, and I cried out for the fight. Greg, 4-year-old at his best. He's going to take his down.
Sorry, I'm late for class. First topic I'd like to talk about is suicide. For me, it's very close to home, and it's odd because I never thought in a million years when I was growing up, especially if you would have asked me in high school, because I did have a pretty decent childhood, that 25 years down the road that I would be seconds away from ending my own life. And anytime I hear a story of that, some child or youth has taken their own life, it's not necessarily just that action that bothers me about it. It's actually the misery and suffering that that poor child has been going through to get to that point. And I know that feeling. I was desperate for help. I was desperate for answers. As a matter of fact, that's the problem with suicide. Most people end up doing it because they've exhausted all the options. The biggest challenge in my life was the noise up here. I think that's the biggest challenge for all of us, regardless of where it's come from. It's how we're going to deal with it. And the choices that we make, our choices. A lot of times when we do the live school assemblies, I'll talk about drugs, and you'll get the section of the youth that will kind of cheer about it. And you know what? I get it. In the end, it didn't matter. The only thing that mattered is I chose to start using them at some point in my life. So whether you're using them now or it's something that's so far from your mind, you're thinking, "No, I'll never use them," we still need to talk about them here today. Once again, I can't get into this topic without getting deep into the misery, not only that I brought on to myself through drugs, but I brought on to everybody around me. Hopefully you have a great support team in your life. Hopefully you'll never touch a drug in your life. But the temptation can come from anywhere. It can come from your friend in sports, or the friend in your neighborhood, or mom and dad. But we're shooting this video footage because there are answers. Why did I start taking drugs in the first place? Is because I couldn't get the chatter to stop in my mind. But we're here today because there's always hope. Obviously, there's so many different relationships that an individual will go through in their lives. There's the mom and dad love type of relationship. There's the brother-sister. There's the friend type of relationship. When I started to change my life, I had to really self-examine. And I had to understand one thing, that because I was to the point, I was 40 years old and I wanted to end my life, maybe I should have listened to those that had good advice, starting with the teachers early on in my life that I basically ignored and said, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." Or even my mom. How many times I say, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about, Mom." Or then it was my wife, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." Well, I can tell you this, they did. And who was the one that paid the ultimate price? Me. So relationships is such a big topic. I'm going to try to break it down into the simplest form. A relationship is either right or wrong. We can't possibly know everything. So you have to look at the foundation of any relationship. I talked about in the last topics about drugs and that I became a professional drug addict, and a lot of people will be like, "Huh? Like, Is that a profession? Can I sign up? No, it's not a good thing. You know, I became a professional alcoholic. And once again, nobody starts out to be an alcoholic. But alcohol is like the silent killer. I just want to say that again. Alcohol can be the silent killer. You have to look at your own individual life. How's that working out for you? Has it started to consume your life? There's a life on nature's terms. That means no additives, no mind-altering things. And then there's, life outside of that. And they always look different. I don't care who you are. Any chemical that we add into our body, whether it's drugs or alcohol, whether it's liquid, powder, whether it's a needle, whether it changes your mind, your thought process. There was a time in my life where I could drink, I could set it down, and I could still function. But oddly enough, there came a time in my life where I couldn't set it down. It was never enough. More problems existed. Now they were existing because of my drug addiction and alcoholism. And the hardest part was it was legal and everybody justified drinking.
You know why I hated everybody, people? Because I hated myself.
So everybody wants to look at a drug addict that's about to overdose, or maybe that overdosed, whether they're 17 or 47 or 97, or that criminal, and they want to just cast them away. But I'll argue with them. You got to put yourself in those other people's places, and that's where bullying stops. For a second, just stop before you open your mouth. And I do the same thing. I'm guilty of some of this stuff, even to this day. But once again, it stops with you, and it stops with me. It's our choice to open that mouth and spit something toxic out, or to keep it shut. Because you never know what that person's been through. You never know where that person's coming from. You never know if that person was just born straight into the lion's den itself. How dare I judge anybody in my life? I don't know whether they've been blessed or cursed. I know every time I spoke poorly of somebody else, maybe there was no consequences for me then, but you better believe they came around 10, 15 years later. Bullying is casting negative judgment on anybody's life, whether you're young or old. Picture yourself in their shoes. You can change anything in your life today by making the next right decision. That's all I did back in 2011 when I changed my life. I didn't make all the decisions for my future. I just made the next right decision. If you want to hear more of my story uncensored, join us for our live webinar. See you then.